The year is 1984 and Christian Dior is dying. The Boussac Group that owns Christian Dior is incurring around $20 million in losses every single year. Now, while any company at this stage would simply die, the French government did not let Boussac die. Why? Because if Boussac Group died, 20,000 workers will be jobless and it would be a political disaster for the government. So in 1984, the government of France put up Boussac Group on sale. But the government imposed two non-negotiable conditions. Number one, the new owner cannot lay off 20,000 workers. And number two, the new owner will have to keep the loss-making factories running. So do you realize this was a death trap? And no businessman was interested in this offer. Because nobody wanted to pay money only to lose $20 million a year. But one man saw something that nobody else saw. This man had no experience in fashion, no experience in clothing, and no experience in retail. In fact, he was a real estate entrepreneur. His name was Bernard Arnault, and he bought Christian Dior for 1 franc. Yes, Christian Dior was bought for 1 franc. And somehow, this man turned a burning empire into a money-making machine.
Dior is a billion-dollar brand.
This is a house that is part of French history. It's national treasure.
Its clothes are worn by the world's most beautiful women, which have kept Dior in the headlines.
And the brand can rightly be titled as the epitome of the fashion industry.
Today, Christian Dior is worth $111.4 billion and they sell $88 billion worth of products every single year. The question is, when the Boussac Group was bleeding, when nobody wanted to buy the $100 million liability, why did Bernard Arnault buy the Boussac Group? How did he turn a loss-making company into a billion-dollar miracle? And how did he turn Christian Dior into the iconic brand that it is today? This video is brought to you by Kotak. People, luxury is not about what you show, it's about what you unlock. In the world of premium brands, true luxury lies in access. Access to memorable stays, effortless journeys, and privileges crafted for the selected few. And recently, I came across something that fits this philosophy. The Kotak Solitaire credit card. What I liked about this metal credit card is that it's not positioned as a premium card for the sake of it. It's designed for people who actually travel and value experiences over transactions. For example, take the Forex markup. If you travel internationally even 3 to 4 times a year, most cards quietly charge 2 to 3.5% on every swipe. You don't notice it, but it adds up fast. But with this card, that markup is 0. Now that is a meaningful upgrade. And then there is lounge access. Most cards cap it and restrict it. But when you're traveling with family, luxury isn't your access. Luxury is everyone being comfortable. And this card extends that experience to your entire family. And the reward system is actually built around travel. You get 10 air miles for every 100 rupees spent on travel via Kotak Unbox with up to 1 lakh reward points per month. So your spending literally funds your next journey. And you see, real luxury isn't loud, it's seamless. It's when things just work in the background. And honestly, sometimes these financial decisions are the ones that quietly upgrade your lifestyle. So if this sounds like something you would actually use, check out the Kotak Solitaire credit card using the link in the description. Let's start with the first question. Why did Bernard Arnault agree to take over the company that was losing $100 million a year? This is a story that dates back to 1973 when the oil prices shot up by 300% from $3 a barrel to $12 a barrel due to a war in Israel. Now, when energy costs shot up, Boussac's textile mills started bleeding millions of dollars in losses, and Marcel Boussac panicked. The Boussac Group owned 4 major assets other than Christian Dior. They had Pudos, which was a leading brand of disposable diaper. Then they had a furniture retail company called Conforama. Thirdly, the group also owned huge parcels of properties all across France. And lastly, they also had 65 failing textile plants all across France. Now, when the textile plants started bleeding, to survive, Boussac did the worst thing you can do to a luxury brand. He sold Christian Dior's soul to pay his debt. So he sold over 150 different licenses for the Dior name and let anyone make anything out of the Christian Dior logo. And behind the closed doors, Boussac was committing a massive crime against his own brand. For example, every single time Dior sold a luxury handbag and actually made a profit, that money was instantly stolen and it was siphoned out of Dior's accounts and it was handed straight to the banks to pay off the massive debts of Boussac's dying cotton mills. That is the reason why, in spite of owning Christian Dior, the Boussac Group as a whole was bleeding. So you know what Bernard Arnault did? He put up $15 million of his own money, gathered $65 million from an investment bank and told the French government, look, we have $80 million, so we can keep the workers and run the company just like you stated. So give us the company for 1 franc and let me handle the Boussac Group. Now, as you all know, net worth of a company is assets minus liabilities. And since this company was bleeding, Bernard Arnault could get Christian Dior and the entire Boussac Group for just 1 franc. But in spite of agreeing to all the conditions of the government, you know what Bernard Arnault did? The first thing he did was slaughter the company and sell the parts. He ripped out the diaper brand and sold it for millions of dollars. He sold the furniture chain Conforama for again millions of dollars, and he sold the 65 factories. And you know how much money Bernard Arnault made in this process? He made $500 million. And what happened to the workers? Well, he laid off 9,000 workers and he practically broke the promise that he made to the French government. Now, do you realize the labor cost in France in 1986 was around $800 a month? So even if he gave away 6 months of severance to each worker, he would have barely paid $43.5 million. So logically, he paid 1 franc and must have had at least $400 million in cash along with the Christian Dior brand. Plus, he also had the $80 million that he promised to infuse into the company. So practically, Bernard Arnault got paid $400 million just to buy Christian Dior. So the question is, when he promised the government to not lay off workers, how could he break the promise without being punished by the French government? Well, the French government realized that if they sued Arnault and took over the company, they would inherit loss again. And they won't be able to run the company, and eventually the government company will have to lay off 20,000 workers if the government took over the Boussac Group. And if a government company laid off 20,000 workers, that would have been a political disaster. And Arnault essentially told the government, either I cut 9,000 jobs and save 11,000 people, or the whole company goes bankrupt and 20,000 people hit the streets tomorrow. You decide which option is better. Now, the French government had no choice but to settle the matter. But now, Arnault had a massive problem. He owned Dior for sure, but Dior was a joke. Like I said, Christian Dior wasn't an exclusive club for the elite. You could buy Dior socks, Dior kitchen towels, stockings, and even mass-produced Dior gloves at the department store. So the question is, how did Arnault turn a brand that sells cheap kitchen towels into a $100 billion brand? Well, Arnault executed a 4-step psychological campaign. Now listen closely, because this is a masterclass in luxury marketing. You see, Arnault understood a terrifying reality. Luxury is not about quality. Luxury is about distance. It is about creating an artificial gap between the people who have it and the people who are begging for it. And here's how he engineered this gap. Step number 1, the shock. Arnault knew a core rule of human psychology. You cannot be a luxury brand if the middle class could afford you. So when he took over Christian Dior, there were millions of cheap Dior products flooding the market. So Arnault used this newfound cash to ruthlessly hunt down and terminate all of the 150 cheap licenses. So he incinerated the Dior socks, he burned the cheap towels, and he ripped the brand out of every department store overnight. And he did not just reduce supply, he executed what economists call a Veblen good effect. It basically says that for normal products, when the price goes up, the demand goes down. But for a luxury good, the exact opposite happens. Why? Because the more you increase the price, the more you increase the distance between the people who have it and the people who are begging for it. For example, in the 1980s, a Birkin cost around $2,000. But today, a basic Birkin starts at roughly $11,000 to $12,000. And some of their products even cost over $100,000. But you know what? In spite of the price increasing by over 500%, the waiting list has only grown longer. Similarly, a Rolex Submariner retailed for about $150 in the 1970s. Today, the retail price is around $9,000 to $10,000. And because of high demand, the grey market price is often at about $15,000 or more. So when you restrict supply, you create a secondary market where prices skyrocket. So the higher the resale price, the more people want to buy the watch at retail. Similarly, by aggressively hiking Dior's prices and violently choking the supply, Arnault made the brand impossible to get. But this is where he saw another trap. If you increase the price and nobody actually wants to buy a Christian Dior, you have a problem. And this is where he deployed step 2. He fired the safe old designers and brought in aggressive new designers. And then Arnault deployed a Trojan horse. You know what he did? Somehow, I repeat, somehow, God knows how, the First Lady of France gifted Princess Diana a Dior bag. Now, you have to understand this. Princess Diana wasn't just a royal, she was the most famous woman on the planet. Think of her as Beyonce, Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian combined, but without Instagram. She was so influential that if she wore a choker, the world wore chokers. If she cut her hair, millions of women went to the salon the next day. Princess Diana was the most photographed human being in history. And when the paparazzi snapped a photo of Diana stepping off a plane in Argentina, clutching that black Dior bag, the world went crazy. Everyone around the world wanted the princess bag. And when the world saw Princess Diana with a Dior bag, people went so crazy that Dior sold 200,000 units in just 2 years. Now mind you, today that bag sells for about $5,800. So 200,000 units is practically worth $1.1 billion in sales today, and that too by selling a small, simple bag. That is how Arnault further increased the distance between the people who had it and the people who were dying for it. In fact, Arnault called the princess, got her blessing, and renamed the bag Lady Dior.
Bag appeared with her so consistently that Dior made an unprecedented decision. The Lady Dior, a gift that changed fashion history. Diana transformed the handbag from a simple accessory into a statement of personal power.
And even today, Lady Dior is a classic. But again, Arnault knew that old money eventually dies. This was the third trap that he spotted. So if he wanted to build a $1 billion empire, he couldn't just rely on royalty. He had to brainwash the MTV generation, the generation of the 1990s. And that's when Dior made the saddlebag. And look at this thing, guys. It's tiny, completely impractical, and it is kind of awkward. But Arnault proved that if you put a weird product on the right cultural icon, weird instantly becomes the ultimate symbol of wealth. That is a tactic known as price architecture. If you sell a bag next to 10 other brands, it's a commodity. But if you force the customer to walk past a suited doorman over Italian marble, the bag sits alone on a pedestal as an offering and not as a commodity. And just like Princess Diana, Arnault put the saddlebag in the hands of Beyonce and Paris Hilton. And as usual, it became a sensation for the MTV generation.
On MTV Music Television.
America! Demand your MTV! I want my MTV!
In 1982, MTV became the focal point of an advertising campaign.
That is how Arnault sold a $50 bag for $2,800 with a 4,800% markup. But you know what? Arnault did not stop there. He saw another weakness. He knew a dark secret about the luxury business. A heritage brand is a ticking time bomb, because eventually your rich customers age out and the young generation thinks you are an auntie brand or an uncle brand. So to ensure Dior never died, Dior always collaborated with the most influential personalities of the time and the most influential brands of the time, so that every generation finds Dior aspirational. Look at this. After Paris Hilton and Taylor Swift, Dior got Rihanna to launch a perfume and Jisoo from Blackpink to launch Dior beauty products. Similarly, Dior men worked with Louis Hamilton, Travis Scott, and Daniel Arsham, and even worked with brands like Birkenstock, Air Jordan, and Stone Island. That is how Dior used the hype, adrenaline, loyalty of young brands to make a 70-year-old French brand aspirational for teenagers. This is the 4-part psychological framework. And you know what, guys? This isn't just the story of a handbag. It is the ultimate billionaire cheat code of luxury products. Because you know what? Arnault did not stop at Dior. He took this blueprint, rinsed and repeated it again and again and again. This helped him swallow Tiffany & Co., build the unstoppable LVMH monopoly, and crowned himself the godfather of luxury fashion.
The world's biggest luxury company.
LVMH touched the $500 billion mark, making it the first European company to do that.
Has soared to become one of the world's most valuable publicly traded companies.
The CEO of LVMH,
Bernard Arnault, set out to build a luxury supergroup that would maintain many brands under one company.
This is the story of the greatest fashion heist in corporate history. And funnily, all of it started with a pocket change. That is the story of Christian Dior. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable from this case study, please hit the like button to let the YouTube algorithm know that you found something valuable. And to support our work, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.